All right, y'all. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J is live. We are in the building. Well, I should say I am in the building. I'm dolo tonight for now. Usual suspects may or may not show up, and that's all good because I'm not alone. I may seem like I am, but I'm not alone. Got a very, very, very special guest that's joining us on the live line. Got a whole lot of stuff that me and this brother are going to get into. I'm looking forward to it. It's been a while since he's been here. He's coming back to his home, about to give you guys the dopest show on the internet today, the flagship show of Legacy Internet Radio. It's called Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J. That's me. And guess what? It's live. When? Right now.
It's about that time. It's about that time to get.
Button your lip, open your ears, strap on your thinking cap. Socially conscious talk that's entertaining with a dash of humor and the top sports stories of the week. It's time for Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J.
Sellers has Jordan. Jordan with 2 seconds to go. Puts it up and scores at the buzzer. Michael Jordan has won it for Chicago. Manning lobs it. Burris alone. Touchdown, New York.
Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. He hits one deep to right center. That ball is out of here. The Yankees win the pennant.
If they lying, then they must be half stepping. Ain't no half stepping. Marcus J is live. Be down with us tonight. 804-402-2893. Be down with the flagship show. Heard live from the Dan Legacy Internet Radio. Thank y'all for rocking with us tonight. Y'all rock with us. We roll with you. We appreciate everybody who is rocking with us. Thank you to the folks that are tuned in right now on TuneIn and on Streamer and folks on Facebook Live. Peace to my mom. Mom's checking in. Love you, Mom. I see I got Neek, our sister from around the way, is checked in. We see our brother Solo is checked in from All Throttle Radio. I saw Mr. 3375 is already checked in. Of course, we appreciate the love that we get from the folks who check in with us on YouTube as well as on iTunes. Y'all rock with us. We roll with y'all. So the room is empty, but for yours truly. But the microphone is not empty. I got a very, very special guest that's joining us here on the live line. It's been a while since we had him here with us on Legacy Internet Radio. We got to do something to get the brother back in the room, but we'll take him on the live line for now. My oldest friend on the planet. Love this brother. What up, Kdub?
I am very happy to be here.
Very happy to be here. What's happening, brother?
What's going on, man?
Hey, man, it's good to hear your voice on the show, man. It's not like I don't talk to you like every other day anyway, but it's good to rock with you and roll with you on Ain't No Half Step with Marcus J, man. You doing all right?
I'm good, man. I'm blessed, brother. I'm blessed. I'm blessed without going into details, man.
I can dig it, brother. Say peace to Moms, man. She checking us out.
Peace, Mom J. How you doing up there? Hope everything is good. I know y'all ain't getting the good weather like we do down here, but It's all good. Tell Pops I said what's going on as well.
What it do, homie? What it do, Pass?
yeah. What's going on, Pass?
What up, Pass? Yeah, Ain't No Half Step with Marcus J live from the dead. Legacy Internet Radio, man. I'm very, very excited, to have you on the show. Before we get into the topics that we talked about and some that I didn't share with you that we'll get into, your presence here has not been the same as it was in the past, but it's going to be changing in the very, very near future. We're not in a position to give out any, names or specifics yet, but in your own way, share with the listeners what it is we could potentially be hearing and seeing from you in the next few weeks and months.
Well, what I'm going to be doing is opening up my address book and touching base with a number of influential individuals that I have grown up with, that I know, that I'm sure that their stories as well as what they're doing currently will be beneficial to the Ain't No Half Stepping family. It'll be a lot of insightful information. These individuals are pretty much, spread out across the world. And I have a few ideas as far as bringing their stories to light, as well as, introducing new individuals and also giving a different perspective in a number of things that we may see and hear on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis. So I think that, once I bring that to the family, I'm sure that everyone will be excited and will be locked in to listen to the individuals that I'll bring on to the show.
I can dig it. Ain't no half step on Marcus J. Live from the Den, Legacy Internet Radio. Dub, we should probably just get right on to it. You ready to get right on to it?
Let's do it, man. Let's do it, dog.
All right, what up?
I got my sneakers tied up tight.
You got your sneakers tied up tight, done. You know what I'm saying,
yes, sir.
son? You know, the reason why I speak this way, done, is because you know what it is, done. You know,
the done language.
It's the done language. And mom says hey to two of her very favorite young men. So
thank you.
We got to get mom in. And peace to you, ma. I love you. Speaking that way, paying homage to our brother Albert Johnson, and most folks know him as Prodigy, one half of the group Mobb Deep. Now, we lost him last Tuesday in Las Vegas, and I was here in studio with the listening party, which airs every single Tuesday night right here live from the Den of Legacy Internet Radio. Same way you're listening to me, you can hear the listening party. And that show is a hip-hop show. That's what they are. That's what they do. They talk about hip-hop. They have a DJ. They have several DJs that come in and spin. And I don't think I would be speaking out of turn to share a very brief story before I ask your thoughts on the loss. One of the DJs, DJ Ron P., here in Richmond, Virginia, very prominent DJ, was talking about how Saturday night he was spinning and Meth and Red were here in Richmond. The Saturday
Stop
before.
It. Are you serious?
I'm serious.
And you didn't tell me that? Well, go ahead.
Yeah, I know. And you've seen him live, and you didn't tell me until after
you told me how dope
it was, right? So Meth and Red was here, and when you have certain kinds of hip hop shows and artists, you spin certain kind of music. So if you was in an ATL, you could spin, Outkast. If you were in the Midwest, you might spin Eminem. But if you in Richmond, Virginia, you got Meth and Red in the building, you're going to be spinning some up top New York hip hop. So he was talking about how he was spinning Mobb Deep. And when we looked at the news reports, right around the time he was spinning Mobb Deep was during the time when Prodigy was going into the hospital. So you think about the serendipity with that. And then you talk about how their show airs on Tuesdays, which is the day that we lost him, when they were able to come into the studio and talk about it. So, I mean, if you from up top and you of our age, you know about Mobb Deep. So I'm going to stop and allow you to jump in. I mean, when you heard about Prodigy, brother, what was your thoughts, man?
I was stuck, man. And it's going to seem very ironic, and my wife can verify this as well. Maybe about 3 or 4 days before we got the news that he had transitioned, I was in my car thinking, damn, I want to play some Mobb Deep. Right. For nothing, it just came to me one day. I was like, I want to play some Mobb. And then to get the news a few days later that he had passed on was just like, wow. And then make it even more, hitting home. I mean, let's just be for real. He's in our age range. He's in our age group.
Yeah.
And then to take it one more step further, my goddaughter, well, my best friend's daughter, as well as my cousin, they have sickle cell anemia. I'm firsthand have seen what that disease does to people and how it affects their day-to-day. And even myself, I have the sickle cell trait. So, in learning that he passed away and conversating with my wife, there was a good moment that I had to really kind of really take a step back. And the first person that I thought about was our boy.
Yeah, QB,
you know,
QB.
Quiet V.
Yeah.
You know, you know, it's a disease, man. You know, the average age of an individual that suffers from sickle cell anemia is 45. Prodigy is 42.
Yeah.
And it's a very debilitating disease that hits African Americans, and I want to say there's another community that it hits as well, but obviously, you know, it's prevalent among African Americans. And you know, taking it a step further, you know, I mean, if you grew up around the time that we grew up, especially being in the New York, New Jersey area, you know, Mobb Deep, that's in your library for your life. You know, there's some song that's in your library, there's some song that they made that's in the soundtrack of your life,
right,
regardless of what it was. I mean, when you say some of the grittiest, grimiest, hardcore hip hop groups, Mobb Deep is there.
Yeah.
There's no second guessing it. I mean,
Give me
you
a
know, if you
clean
want to
line.
really hear that gutter,
give me a
that
clean
real,
line.
you know what, you put in that Mobb Deep.
Give me a clean line. Give me something off the dome. Mobb Deep that we can do.
You know what? It's going to be hard for me to say something clean because the first things that come to my mind is definitely something that we want Mrs. J to turn the album, turn the volume
You know
down.
when they
so
say it in front.
I won't do that. I'll see if I can think of something nice and clean, but I see in my mind again. I'm sitting here thinking of it, and
the first thing I'm gonna tell you, the first
not
line,
really for kids.
the first line that came to my mind when I heard it, right? And I honestly I haven't been able to turn it off ever since. First line that came to my mind is "It's hell on earth. Who's next are going to be first? The projects is front lines, and the enemy is one time. I ain't got to tell you. It's right in front of your eyes. You know what I mean? Like if that's not a line from a song that's near 20 years old or 15 or however years ago they made Hell on Earth, but for it to be appropriate to the climate of the world for young black men and old black men for that matter today, that's some real shit. It's hell on earth. Who's next are gonna be first. The projects is front lines and the enemy is one time. I ain't gotta tell you. It's right in front of your eyes. And for those folks who don't know, one times is the cops. That's the police.
Hey, we need love, not war. And I'm trying to paraphrase it, you know, but I'll be, if you stop me, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a number of different things, man, that, you know, it's not just hip hop. No, let me back up. It is hip hop because it was hood. It was grimy, but you know what? It had a bigger message. You know what I'm saying? You could take just take the lyric that you just spit out and apply it to what's going on nowadays. Apply it to someone that, you know, may need some type of motivation. I know many cats that put in Mobb Deep and go in the gym and turn the gym upside down. You know what I'm saying? I know many occasions that, you know, how music affects an individual. How many times have I been in the gym playing basketball and we played that Mobb Deep, and it just takes you, I mean, not saying it takes you to a whole nother level, but, hey, you in it. Well, just like any music when you playing basketball, you in it. But Mobb Deep just took it to a different level. But you know what? I'm gonna say something, and for those that are maybe aware, might have saw that clip of Master P earlier today, talking about the BET Awards that happened last night. You know, what does kind of makes me kind of squint my eyes is that the amount of love that he's getting right now, and I would say that there's a good percentage of people that if he hadn't passed on, they probably wouldn't have even been bumping Mobb Deep or even knew anything about Prodigy, but, you know, they want to take advantage of the scenario and the situation of him passing along. But yet, you know, everybody's like, you know, rest in peace, Prodigy, but they couldn't really spit an album or really, you know, give you anything that's concrete. A lot of times individuals take a situation and they want to be down with it, but they ain't really down.
Well,
but that's my own personal
Ain't no
thing.
such things as halfway crooks. Scared to death, you scared to
Scared to
you
look.
shook. Ain't no such things as halfway crooks. You know, I agree with you. You know, it's funny. I don't want to make this well, it is a hip hop thing. I mean, it's really a hip hop thing, and it's a certain generational thing. My guess is, but I think everybody can relate to losing an artist that you didn't know, but you knew. That's the same.
Right.
That's the same.
Right.
That's the same age as you. Like, he's the same age as you. Like, I was born in 1974 in June. He was born in 1974 in November. Like, we're the same age. You know what I mean? And I've been fortunate enough to have good health, and my guess is so are you. And I personally, this is the next kind of piece that I wanted to get into and kind of get your thoughts on, Dub. I've been fortunate because I've not lost any of my homies. You know what I mean? Like, I've lost family.
You did.
I've lost family. Well, just follow me for a second, and if I'm missing somebody, please shout them out and allow me to apologize for forgetting them. But you know, when I've lost family members, and you know, one of the closest people to me is, you know, one of my best friends. We lost when we were 16 years old. You know, to street violence. You know, but I'm talking about as we got older. You know, and this was a female. I'm talking.
And I was referring.
And that's who you're referring to.
I was referring to Steph.
Stephanie, of course. And that's who and I figured you were, and that's the reason why I brought it up. You know, I live with Stephanie every day. Like, every day I live with Stephanie. Like, every day. 16 years old. You know, she was.
I'm sorry.
She was.
I thought we were a little bit younger than that one.
She's a couple of months. She's March. I'm June. So I was 16 and she was 17. I hadn't turned 17 yet, and we lost her to street violence. But the point I'm making is, you know, some folks know about death all too well. You know what I mean? And it doesn't necessarily always have to be street violence, because it wasn't street violence with Prodigy. It wasn't street violence with Guru. It wasn't street violence with Eazy-E. It wasn't street violence with Heavy D. It wasn't street violence, you know, for MC Trouble. You know what I mean? And when you have these artists, they become part of your family. It wasn't street violence with Prince and Michael Jackson and Whitney and Luther. Talk to me a little bit about what it's like when you lose an artist, whether it be a musician or a movie star, somebody that you don't know but you know. What's it like for you, Kdub?
For me, it's like losing a family member and or a friend, because I'll think about musicians, man. Even more so, even Mobb Deep, you mentioned Luther, Whitney, name your musician. There are certain songs that those individuals have made that if you play that song, it will take you back to the particular time in your life that you listen to them. Mobb Deep. When I listen to Mobb Deep, I think about 1994, 1995. I can't name names, but I remember rolling around Jersey City in a Passat with my boy, listening to Mobb Deep from beginning to end.
It was a
Jetta. You know what I'm saying?
It was a Jetta, but I got you.
No.
Somebody different?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, my apologies.
Yeah, so you know, I remember being in his car listening to Mobb Deep. You know, he just drove from Kansas. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we riding around Jersey City listening to Mobb Deep. I mean, those particular songs, I remember songs from Luther that if you play it, I can tell you where I was when I may have heard the song for the first time or saw the video. If you play a certain Whitney Houston song, I can remember being, you know, maybe 10 years old and being in B. Corley's living room, and we up here watching Dance with Somebody, and B just being, you know, loving Whitney Houston. You could do that for so many different individuals. I could tell you the exact day when I heard that Michael Jackson passed away, and I'm sure that a whole bunch of people can tell you that, and certain songs that he may have, certain songs that Prince may have had. It takes you right back to those particular times, and it makes you feel as though that they were family members, like they were close friends of the family. You know, or I mean, it's bugged out how music can transcend and take you to a certain place. Right. And when you lose that individual that made that music, it's almost like losing a piece of your heart, a small piece of your heart.
Well, you mentioned Michael Jackson. I remember that day because I remember you and I were on the phone talking about it, and I remember literally, no exaggeration, being in denial. You hear the radio? Nah, I don't hear nothing. I don't hear no radio. Radio, what's a radio? What are you talking about? You know, and you know, taking it back to Prodigy, you know, the dude had a certain kind of swag that I think many of us from the hood would appreciate, particularly those of us from the hood that wasn't hood, because I never got the impression that, like, I always felt like him and Prodigy, him and Havoc was raised right. They just was raised in Queensbridge projects. You know, they was regular dudes. They was how we would have been if we was raised in the projects. You know what I'm saying? And that's what made it real. That's what made it authentic. And it's hard because when you look at your contemporaries, you know, Pops would always say this to me, even Moms to a lesser degree, but Pops really would say to me, you know, as you get older, you start losing your friends. You start losing your homies, and it's like, man, that's crazy, you know, because I'm thinking about Havoc right now. That's his man. You know, they was on the road together. You know, they smoked together, they drank together, they messed with women together, they made music together, they made money together, they did everything together. And when Havoc got on the plane to come home, he knew his boy was sick, but his boy would always get sick. It wasn't like he thought that he would never see him anymore. And then you get that phone call. You know, I don't mean to belabor the point, but, you know, I'm thinking about you. And I'm thinking about, you know, PB. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, wow, man, it's crazy because these days aren't promised to us. And we should make sure that we pay homage to those that we rock with and that roll with us. You know what I'm saying? And I just wanted to make sure that we spent some time and we gave the man his flowers. And I'm not one of those people, like you mentioned earlier, that's giving him his flowers in death. You know what I mean? Like, I would go through my Mobb Deep phases where I would turn them suckers on and just rock with them anyway. You know, I think about Moms and Pops generation when they look at their new edition, was called The Temptations. And when you look at the starting five, the only one left is Otis. Dave is gone. Paul is gone. Melvin's gone.
Well, you know, I'll even take what you just said to another degree. You know, look at two individuals that you saw last night at the BET Awards, right?
I ain't watching.
You saw Stevie Wonder. You saw Smokey Robinson.
Yeah.
Think about how many people that Smokey Robinson and Stevie Wonder have seen, met, worked with that came and went.
Yeah. Came and went. How about came and went since they was already on the scene? Not just those contemporaries of theirs, but came and went since they was on the scene. You know, exactly. I mean, you know, I want to say peace to my big cousin Tony. My big cousin Tony is checking in with us. He's giving us the pound, the deuces. He's saying keep it 100. We're gonna keep it 100, big cuz. Appreciate you checking us out. Much love to you and the fam, brother. Appreciate you. You know, Dub, I wanna change direction a little bit in the limited time that we have left with you, and just kind of get into some of the conversations that you and I have that are private that we're gonna bring to the listeners when we kind of talk a little bit about the social climate in the world. I'm gonna start with the BET Awards for a reason. I didn't watch. You know, they had New Edition on there, and it's great they had New Edition on there, but you know, it wasn't enough for me to turn them on and watch it. I was talking to our brother Warren Ballantyne this morning, and one of the things that we talked about was how on the BET Awards there was just a few acts on that 3-hour show that brought positivity. When you think about the music and when you think about the climate, and I'm just asking you, Kdub, think about the climate and you think about the music that we're listening to or our kids are listening to today in 2017, juxtaposed against the climate that we see on the street, are you in distress? Are you frustrated? Or do you think it's okay? It's just music?
I'm very much frustrated. I'm a little bit of both. You know, and when I say a little bit of both, I mean very little of me is just like, hey, it's just music. I'm a little perturbed at the fact that now hip hop has so much of a foothold in, you know, mainstream media that, you know, they could change some of the perception that people may have. Not saying that you're going to change everyone, but you can change some of the perception. It's kind of hard to say, hey, we need to be respected as individuals, and then, you know, you come back with some, you know, some Sambo-ish on the stage. You know, you had a message. I can't remember the scenario, but I think it was Chance the Rapper gave an outstanding, you know, speech in regards when he got the humanitarian award. And I believe like the next act after that basically went a 180-degree turn, you know. So
back to some coonery.
It's a little disheartening, because I don't think that the individuals that are running the hip hop game, and something, to be honest with you, a lot of stuff last night is not really hip hop, but that's a whole another discussion. But it's kind of disheartening when people have a foothold and they are very, very influential to the younger generation, and they may not recognize that they have that power. And if they do recognize it, they don't really use it to create change.
Right.
You know, but you know what? I can say this. The same way that you and I are having this discussion, I'm quite sure that the generation before us may have had that same discussion.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because, you know, this is a conversation. It's ironic that Mom is listening right now. It's a conversation that I've had with her since we were young, when we talk about music, and she would say things like their music in the 50s and the 60s was the best music that was ever made. And as I got older, there was less room for me to argue with her about that. But also, as I've gotten even older, beyond that older, I learned to appreciate the pieces of our music that was real dope. Like the 70s was really cool, and the 80s was probably the most fruitful generation of music that people our age has ever seen in the 80s. When you could turn on WBLS in New York, and in succession, you could hear Madonna, Michael Jackson, Run DMC, LL Cool J, and the Police. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know that you're going to get that kind of, one, variety, and two, that kind of diversity going forward today.
Well, you know, with music now, more so than before, is that, you know, and we've had this discussion, I remember on the show a while back, we were talking about music. There's a lot of music and musicians that are out here, but because of different entities that's in the radio game, i.e. payola, i.e., you know, just a lot of unscrupulous things, excuse me, there's a whole lot more music that's out there that if you compare it to the 50s and the 60s, there's really no comparison. I mean, I could actually make a song, put it on YouTube, get a couple of hundreds of thousands of hits or what have you, and wind up on the BET Awards without a record deal. Whereas in the 50s or 60s, you had to be down with a record company, and then they had to push you and then get the local or some type of DJ to play your stuff. So I would say the opportunities are very much more abundant nowadays than it was back in 50s, 60s, 70s.
I would agree with that, but a lot of that has to do with the inflation and the explosion of money. You know what I mean? Everything is more in abundance now than it was back then. If you look at, you know, baseball salaries, you know, Dave Parker was the first millionaire in baseball in 1979. Before that, you had cats that had weekend jobs or summer jobs, winter jobs. You know what I mean? Whereas now, you know, there's gonna be a $30 million man in the next few years. So everything is more in abundance, mostly because of inflation. But I want to ask you about the control, the condition, the control. What's the word I'm looking for? Sometimes I lose my train of thought. The cultural conditioning that comes with the music. When you look at some of the effeminizing of our men, when you look at some of the things like that, and you look at the aggressive nature, and A lot of us are guilty of it. We spoke about Prodigy and Mobb Deep. If you listen to some of their lyrics, it's very gritty and it's very, in some cases, violent, depending on what songs you listen to. What is your thoughts on how music and musicians and pop culture has a way of controlling and dictating the course of the people who subscribe to such things, i.e. the youth?
Look at how people dress. Look at how people wear certain things. At one time, early 2000s, who was walking around with a button-up shirt? But then when Jay-Z came out, had the button up with some jeans and some kicks on, now that became the thing. Let's take it back to the 90s, we were wearing, remember cats had the farmer suits. I remember, there's a lot of different things, and people were getting the blonde streak in their fade. Individuals were wearing African medallions. People was wearing cross colors, so on and so forth. And I would say that all started from watching Video Music Box, Video Soul, watching all of the videos, and you see something that looks cool. I mean, dog, let's go back to the mid-1980s when Salt and Pepper came out with the Tramp video. Salt had on the Boston Celtics sweatshirt, and Pepper had on the Houston Rockets joint. Right after that, you started seeing people with those same joints. Think about the Coca-Cola sweatshirts.
Right.
So I would say that hip-hop, not only just hip-hop, but music and the artists, they are the ones that drive what you see people that follow them wear.
Yeah.
So the same way that you see, cats that's wearing the tight capris or whatever like that, if they're wearing that, perfect example, Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne started wearing certain clothes, and he came out with his clothing line or what have you, and you started seeing people wearing that. Right. I mean, even Kanye West, as trash as it may be, there are people that are buying and wearing it.
Yeah.
So, and you know what? It goes even further back. When I would say, and your mother could back me up on this, and this is just my assumption, but I would venture to say that when they saw Sam Cooke, James Brown, or maybe seeing Eddie Kendricks or what have you, porn rimmed glasses.
Yeah.
People started thinking that was cool because they saw, the Temptations come on. You know what I'm saying? And David Ruffin had on those particular glasses. So we see different pockets of history that the pop culture has driven what you see individuals saying and wearing, and it's not just hip hop. You had people out here where they were following Cagney Lacey, a lot of the actors that were popular during the 40s or something like that, 50s. You saw those individual styles being reincarnated in society.
Did you really just invoke Cagney and Lacey on the show, yo?
Hey, man, my mind was just racing all over the place, man. But, hey, I'm an old soul, man. Listen, man, I was born in 75, and you know as well as I do, Rick James and Al Green. You know how I feel about them two dudes. Yeah, those are not supposed to be my guys, but I also like Redman. So, hey, I'm not, come on, man. Yeah, I did. I got an old soul. You know that, man.
I can dig it. We both have old souls. 804-402-2893. Listening to the flagship show of Legacy Internet Radio. And you know how Stab on Marcus. Jay, I remember when we were young boys in high school and we would be jamming to James Brown. You know what I mean? I had James Brown tape. We'd be at the crib listening to James Brown. So I guess we've always been old souls. And, Mama J, can get in the car and ask to speak and ask to listen to P-Rock and CL Smooth. She liked Troy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Come on, man. P-Rock and CL Smooth was when the first video that I saw that people had the Lex bubble. It wasn't until after that I started seeing the Lex with the coupe Lex.
Right.
That was the first time I ever saw that.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because pop culture does drive the people who indulge in pop culture. And, I don't know if this meeting was real. I mean, I've heard rumblings about whether it was real or not. We talk about the meeting that allegedly happened in 1989 amongst the record executives, as well as the people that were running the private prisons. I'm sure you've heard of this meeting. You know which meeting I speak of, but it was on the aftermath heels of NWA and Ice-T and all of them, coming to prominence, and Public Enemy and KRS-One on the flip side of that. And they realized the power that they had, not just in hip-hop, but in music, and the power that they had in these young black people driving the message. And it was some folks who think this meeting was mythical, that it didn't exist. But when you look at what the end result was, when you look at the fact that when we were young, we had Kwame and his polka dots, and we had Chubb Rock telling us to treat them right. You know what I mean? And we had Public Enemy telling us to fight the power. But then you had, NWA, with their misogynistic, foul-mouthed ways. And you had MC8 from Compton's Most Wanted was saying what he was saying. And you had Cool G Rap doing what he was doing. My point is you had diversity. You had different types of hip-hop, and there's so many more names that I could name, and I'm just not going to. But the point I'm making is they allegedly said that if we take control of this music, of this culture, we can get the youth to do and be whatever we want. And the fact that these private prison people who ran them, who had money invested in them, were also a part of this meeting, it speaks to a lot of the things that you see now. Now, you'll have some old timers say, well, it was always like that on the street. But we're not old timers. We can only speak about what we see and what we know and apply history to it. And what we see and what we know is Tupac had Thug Life written on his stomach, and he was popular during the same time that Big Daddy Kane was saying, this is for the lover in you, the lover in you, babe, the lover in you. We don't have that kind of diversity now. So you got a thug and a lover in 1993.
Well, I'll say this, that you do have that diversity, but it goes back to the point that I made earlier, is that now you're going to get more of the mumble rap, tiptoe music on the radio, but the Big Daddy Kane of today, you can find them. You just have to go look for them.
But isn't that the point,
we had a discussion about music before, and I was saying about soulful music, and I rattled off maybe about 3 or 4 different artists that individuals in the studio had never heard of before.
But isn't that the point?
But these are artists that have been out there. It's different now, I guess, because again, with the internet being right at your fingertips on your phone, you can go look for Eric Roberson song. You can go and listen to Lil Brother. You can go and listen to the internet.
But listen, but isn't that the point, though? That's what I'm saying. Isn't it the point that in 1982, when MTV first launched, and you knew that you was going to see Michael Jackson and Madonna, and you saw who you wanted to see, and you had Video Music Box, and you knew you was going to see Biz Markie and MC Lyte. You know what I'm saying? Whereas now, if you are really looking to find somebody who is positive, you got to look for it.
You got to look for it.
You can't just turn on the radio and find.
What I would say is what's unfortunate is that the powers that be at these radio stations, these 45, 50-year-old white men, are programming this music, and basically, I would say, for less of a better analogy, man, they're dictating what you're seeing on the streets.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they are.
I mean, am I wrong? Because, you have songs, and it's crazy because, I'm living in Atlanta. Granted, music is kind of global now. But some of the stuff that I listen to there is no way that they're playing this on Hot 97 or they're playing this on 103 in VA or, there's no way. And if you just listen to granted it's hard to, but you listen to some of the stuff that's being said, It's like, yo, you got to be kidding me, man. This is on the radio?
Yeah.
What?
Well, let me
It's
ask you
on the
this.
radio?
Let me ask you this then. I'm gonna speak to the elephant that's in the room. You think they play that stuff on the white stations?
Hell no. They don't even play some of the commercials and stuff that we Yo, listen, let me tell you something. When you hear these commercials on the radio for let's just throw it out there. I'm gonna say the attorneys, I can do down here Ted Nugent or something like that. There's a lot of commercials that do not get played on the white stations. Don't fool yourself and think that it is. It's not. They're not. The programming and the commercials that are being put on the radio stations that we listen to it's on purpose.
Well,
it's on purpose.
But that's the whole point, though, because it's a cultural conditioning. So when you turn on the news, when you turn on the radio, and you see certain cultures presented certain kinds of ways, I think everybody is going to gravitate towards the negative. And so black people, when you see Ted Nugent and Donald Trump, if you feel like being in your feelings, they're going to represent all white people for you. Black people who may not present us in the most positive of lights will represent us and be the face of black people. Somebody like Tupac with the thug life written on his stomach and spitting at the camera. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be Philando Castile who did everything right, or Marcus J who strives to do everything right, or Kdub who strives to do everything right. You know what I'm saying? And so when you are turning the news on every single night and you seeing all of these crazy things happening in the street that is being flooded into the minds of these kids because of the music that they listening to or we listening to, isn't it a greater responsibility for those of us who know better to do better?
It is, but check this out. I'm gonna tell you a real quick story. As some of you may know, I coach high school basketball. I coach high school basketball basically in the suburb of Georgia. Myself and my best friend. My best friend is the head coach. Let me not try to put it out there like I'm the head coach. Going to the locker room last year during practice, after, we getting ready to start practice, the kids is in the locker room or what have you, getting ready, and, they got an opportunity. We let them listen to music or whatever like that. Yo, they listen to some of the most ratchetest music. But you know what? They listen to it, they'll dance to it, whatever, but it stops right there. And mind you, I'm talking about a team that there's only one player that looks like me and the head coach.
Right.
And he's not the one that's bringing the music in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just kind of, it bugs me out that kids in our city will be influenced by this particular music, but then I got a white kid that's on my team. The white kids, I should say, they listen to the same music, and
But let me tell you why. Though.
It doesn't really. Now, is that what's going on at the crib?
Well, let me tell you why.
Is that the upbringing?
You touched on something. Let me tell you why. Because I was raised by James Evans. You know what I'm saying? You've been in my house. You know I was raised by James Evans. My father didn't play. You know what I mean? And there were certain things that was not going to be acceptable. I remember getting a haircut with a part, and he didn't like the part, so he made me go back to the barbershop to blend it. Like, he ain't play. That's some real shit. You know what I mean? When you got a father or you got a mother or you got a parent that is going to hold you accountable for certain things, then there's certain things that's not going to fly. And I'm not saying that all black kids don't have that and all white kids do, but what I'm saying is when you have a head start, because I know the school that y'all in, and without speaking out of turn, let's just say that them kids are all right. Even, no matter where the kids coming from, if they go into the school that y'all coaching, they all right. And their families is all right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Trust me.
Yeah.
My wife can verify.
Yes. So the point I'm making is when you see a diverse life, when you go on trips, and when you go to visit family members 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 states are over. But you got to get in the car and go 4 hours. You know what I mean? Where you seeing things as a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, as a 15-year-old. Your perspective is completely different than a kid who never left Curry's Woods or a kid that never left Wickham Court. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or never left the trailer
with you,
park.
even though you do have those one-offs, because I know individuals that lived in those two particular locations that you named, and a few of them, they, and such as myself and yourself as well. You leave and, this is my home now. Those individuals saw the opportunity and they grasped the opportunity. But then you have to also keep in mind there are a group of individuals in our community, other communities across the United States, that would love to have that opportunity, but for whatever reason, they can't do it.
Right.
Either they're scared, either there's some type of family situation that they can't leave, either they have a child, whatever the issue may be, they would love to do that and would jump at that opportunity. But whatever it may be, they got them chained to that particular city, USA, Yeah. It's unfortunate, man. But I definitely get what you were saying, the upbringing. A lot of it has to do with the upbringing. Hey, I don't mind you listening to this music, but I'm here to tell you what's really good.
I mean, we grew up as kids that had to sneak and listen to Rich Pryor versus some of these
kids. In the
kids.
basement.
Right. I mean, yes, Mom, I know you're still listening. And yes, I used to listen to the record. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm telling you now.
Yeah, we ain't gonna tell them about the trip to VA with Pops.
Well, yeah, he had us listen to Robin, but we was 18.
Had us listen to Robin Harris.
We was 18. You was 17. You was 17.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
but it's a trip because the kids now they listening to Kevin Hart with their mothers at 10, 12 years old. It's different. It's different.
It very much is different. There's a lot of things that I see or have heard, and you see parents sharing with their kids, and it's a little different. But you know what? Again, you have to understand the evolution of times, because there's things that you and I that we would do with our parents and grandparents that a generation before that wasn't happening.
Yeah.
Wasn't happening.
Yeah.
And I can, my household, brother.
Yeah.
So generations back, there was a lot of things that I was able to do that I know for a fact my mother and my uncles couldn't even bring it. It was not even a discussion.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, I raised my child similarly, but differently than how I was raised. She has certain freedoms that I may not have had, but I also know that there are certain things that I was allowed to do that she'll never do. I remember getting on my bicycle and being gone for hours, and I only went home to pee and eat before that street light came. When the street light came on, I had to go take my tail in the house. But if it was during the middle of the day, I went home to pee and eat. Whereas now, like I remember when she was younger, I didn't even want her in the yard unless I was sitting on the porch watching her. So there's certain, but then, we'll sit and watch certain movies or we'll have certain conversations that maybe I didn't have with moms and pops. So there are a lot of things that are similar, but there are a lot of things that are different.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you a question, and this can be 100% rhetorical. How do we change the course? How do we try to lessen? Because I mean, as well as I do, Jersey City as an example, but the nation as a whole, things are bad.
Yeah, they are.
Things are bad.
Yeah, but
what do we do? Is it past our time? Is it whatever we say or do is going to fall on deaf ears?
I think we need to grow. Well, before I answer this question, let me say peace to my brother and yours. Our brother Hakeem is checking in. He's saying 502, baby. 502. What up, Dub, MJ, and the crew? So peace to Hakeem. I think that we, as a generation, as a group, as a culture, as a country, have a whole lot of apathy I see it in every area of life, from personal to professional to entrepreneurial to religious, to every aspect of life. There's a level of apathy, a level of waiting around for somebody else to do it, whatever it is. And in some cases, you're sitting around waiting for someone to show your kids the right way to do certain things. You know that your kids should, like we all remember the kid from the neighborhood that got to stay out late. And you would wonder, when you was a kid, you would like, man, you know, Craig gets to stay out late. I wish I could be like Craig. But when you got older, you realized that Craig wasn't somebody to emulate, because Craig didn't have somebody at home telling him that he needed to have his ass in the house. You know what I mean? And that kind of apathy has continued to grow to the point where now, you know, Craig is really, really not somebody that you want to be down with. You know, we 42 and 43 and 44 and 5, and we're in our 40s now. But when we were young, it was different, because Craig didn't have a pistol in his pocket at 15 years old. You know, whereas now, Craig got a pistol in his pocket and he out late. And we don't know.
What do we do to change that?
Well,
is it too late?
I guess I've restated the problem without giving it a solution. I think the solution is we need to get Craig's parents. And we need to get Craig, because Craig's going to be a parent. And we need to start. It's not a problem that's going to be solved overnight. But we need to make sure that we educate young folks and show them some sort of alternative. Because the reality is, today, we sitting around waiting on civil rights leaders and all of that kind of stuff. Like, come on, man. You got these dudes that's making money off of, you know, authorizing marches. Like, no, we need to show a better way and an alternative. And we need to make it so that Lil Wayne is not the one that you emulating. And LeBron is not the one that you emulate. Yeah, LeBron is dope. He does a lot of great things, but LeBron is not real. LeBron is, I mean, to most of these kids in the street, to Craig, LeBron might as well be Superman or Batman for real, because he's not real to you. He's not. Your daddy is real. You know, your neighbor is real. Your basketball coach is real. The entrepreneur who's struggling to run a radio station is real. Those people are real. So we need to figure out a way to make it so Craig finds those people as the ones that he wants to emulate. That's the solution. Now, how we do that, that's something that's going to take some brainstorming. There are a lot of people that are working towards that. And that's the reason why I come on the radio every single week, because I don't expect just for Craig Sr. to be listening to me. I'm hoping that he got Craig Jr. sitting there with him when we dropping jewels, talking about how we're looking for our children, talking about how we got history moments that we do every single show, talking about how we can empower one another, talking about how we can have businesses where we can feed each other, not just ourselves, but each other, pushing each other and pulling each other. That's the solution. The implementation of the solution is where the village comes in, where we all come together and we try to figure this shit out together. Because one person can make a difference, but 10 people can change the hood. That's what W.E.B. Du Bois was all about when he was talking about the talented 10th. You got 100 people. But if you got 100 people, but if 10 of them are real dope, you can really make some change. You can really make some change.
And be the example.
And be the example. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Live from the Den, Legacy Internet Radio. Our sister Laurel is checking in with us right now. She said that she's got the Facebook Live feed up on the big screen. She's checking us out. I see you, Michelle K. Michelle K. is checking us out. She hasn't, they can hear you, but they can't see you. Michelle K. She hasn't said peace, but I know she's there. So peace to you, our sister Michelle K. And there's been a lot of people who have been in and out of the Facebook Live in different stages and offering their support. Some have spoken and some haven't. Some have just popped in and let us know that they were there. So I want to say peace and thank you to a couple of people. First, Coach Reggie Ship. I want to say peace to Marvin James, Diana Golding, Tasha Green, Big Ed Herring, Chantel, Jamiqua, our sister Melanie up in the shower, our brother Colt, Neat, and others. So just wanted to make sure that if you checked in with us, did I give you some love? Ain't no half-step with Marcus J. Live from the Dan Legacy Internet Radio. Dub, I know we are getting close to the end of our time with you. Any final thoughts, anything that you want to share before we close out the segment?
Oh, man. Nah, man, I really don't have anything, just want everybody to please be safe, man. You know what I'm saying? Just be safe. Show each other love, and same as always, man, talk to an elder, get some knowledge.
I can dig it.
Knowledge of self and knowledge of history so that we don't repeat the bad stuff, man. Peace to you, for allowing me to come on your show, bend your ear. I'm not even going front. A couple of minutes ago, I forgot that we was on this radio station. You and I we have conversations such as this on the regular that I forgot that we were even on the radio. I'm glad that I didn't say nothing crazy.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't say nothing crazy either. Yeah.
I just want to say thank you basically to the listeners too, man. Y'all tolerate me. Y'all not sending hateful letters or anything like that to Marcus. Like, yo, don't put that dude on the radio no more, man. So thank y'all for just letting me bend your ears, talk the blood out you for a little bit. And again, just be on the lookout for future shows that I'll be a part of and doing some real insightful interviews that I'm sure that you'll enjoy. If you listen to any interviews from the past, I plan on taking those interviews and taking them to another level.
I can dig it. Shout out to our sister Angie B's checking in with us as well. Ain't no half-stepping Marcus J. Live from the Den. Legacy Internet Radio. Dub, I'm going to go ahead and let you drop the line now. I appreciate you, brother.
All right. Peace and love to everybody in Jersey City, my wife, and everybody that can hear my voice. Peace to the gods, the earth, stars, and squares.
So more to be, brother.
Yes, sir.
Ain't no half-stepping Marcus J. Live from the Den. Legacy Internet Radio. Taking our first break of the night. And when we come back, we're going to talk some more. It's a lot that we need to get to, a lot that Dub and I didn't get to, and we'll get to it on the other side. I'm your host, Marcus J. The show is called Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J. That's me, and I'm ready to take this break. Be back in a few, y'all. Stay with us.